A warm welcome to all the English literature enthusiasts and welcome to another new video of mine. In this video, I am going to make you understand modernist theory in literature in a very simplified manner. So stay tuned. What is modernism in British literature? In the late 19th century and early 20th century, modernism as a literary and artistic movement developed throughout the world. So it is a global phenomenon, but especially modernism has its genesis in the European countries, so to speak. And the brief timeline or the rough timeline of modernist movement is 1914 to 1939. So basically, this is the beginning of the First World War and the ending of the Second World War. So in between this phase, modernist movement as an artistic and literary movement developed. So the primary reason for the development of modernist movement in literature and theory is that after witnessing the Holocaust, the massacre and the violence and atrocity in the First World War, the intellectuals across the globe, they came to think about human lives in terms of negativity and pessimism. And as a result, they needed a new literary expression to represent the devastating Holocaust, the phenomenon of atrocide Holocaust across the globe. And as a result, modernism as a literary theory has its genesis. So, who are the key figures of modernist movement? James Joyce in Ireland, Virginia Woolf in London, Franz Kafka in Germany, and apart from these three major figures, T.S. Eliot, Ezra Pound, and many other writers. So many writers are there who were influenced by the modernist trend, and they wrote following these modernist modernist characteristics. Now let me define what are the key features of modernist movement. Modernism as a literary and artistic expression aims to develop a new attitude, new outlook towards life. And here, the first feature of modernism is a literature of mourning. It bemoans the loss of tradition, faith, order, and old values of life. As I have already mentioned, the Holocaust, the xenophobia of the First World War affected the intellectuals of the globe tremendously, and as a result, modernism was unable to cope up with the changed situation in the post-World War phase. And as a result, they faced the difficulty to understand, to cope up with the fragmentary situation in the post-war phase. So as a result, modernism is completely a breakthrough from the tradition, and the fragmentary condition of the present is very much lamentable to the modernist consciousness. So as a result, modernism is called a literature of mourning. Here, the writers in their individual ways lament the loss of tradition, order, values, and former method of life. Second of all, modernism experimented with the narrative forms and techniques. So as a result, modernism completely debunks the myth of traditional narrative style, and we find non-linear narrative methods. The theory of time is very important in modernist literature and modernist theory. Why? Because after the Holocaust, after the massacre in the war, time itself has been changed in a radical way to the modernist consciousness, and as a result, time is very non-linear in modernist writings. So, the theory of la durée, introduced by Henry Bergson, influenced modernist writers tremendously. So, la durée means time is not at all a clock time. Time is non-linear time. Time is very much haphazard. Time is very non-linear. So, as a result, modernism experimented with the concept of time. In the writings of T.S. Eliot in the Wasteland, in the Four Quatrains, you will find a reference to non-linear time of modernity. And also in the writings of Virginia Woolf, James Joyce, we come across such type of non-linear temporal framework in the narratives. And very interestingly, modernism believed that a new writing or new narrative style is important to capture the present sense of hollowness and emptiness of life. So modernist writing uh, most of the time they seem very irrelevant or incoherent writing. but they, if you read them with a very critical bent of mind, they tend to offer you a very valid form of meaning. Third of all, modernism believes in this kind of understanding where subjectivism is focused on. The focus on an individual's life is very much there on modernism. Here we find the life of Gregor Samsa as described by Franz Kafka in his masterpiece Metamorphosis. We find the representation of the boy's thought pattern in a short story Araby by James Joyce. So this subjective, these very not heroic figures, they're very modern common people, and their life, their apparent banalities, apparent drabness of life are getting represented in literature. So modernism shifts the focus from the romantic idealized version of life to the hardcore realities of life. And here we find the description of the nature in a very rough and rugged manner. Modernist depiction of literature is very much negative and pessimistic. For instance, if you read T.S. Eliot's very famous poem, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, where he talks about, let us go then you and I when the evening is spread out against the sky like a patient ether raised upon a table. So the sky, evening sky is not beautifully compared to something romantic object. Rather, the evening sky is compared to a patient etherized upon a table. So the sickness, imagery of disease comes again and again in modernist writing. The disease is reflective of the contemporary situation, socio-political situation, which is very much in a disordered state, which is in an affable state. So the representation of sickness, disease is preponderant in modernist writing. And also, modernism as a narrative expression, as a literary movement, talks about the complete breakthrough from the tradition, yet it laments its loss of tradition, loss of order. So, in my next video, I will be discussing in detail the postmodern theory and the key differences between modernism and postmodernism. But for your understanding, I'm giving you a very simple suggestion to understand the key difference between modernism and postmodernism. Modernism is a very uh, Modernism is very sad, somber in tone. The fragmentary condition in the present, the loss of tradition, order, old values are not at all celebrated in modernist writing. Whereas in the postmodernist writing, the new state, the newly evolved state of life, the newly evolved phase of the society and situation are accepted in a celebratory manner. So the tone of modernism and postmodernism is very different. Modernism is very sad, somber kind of a theory. Its tone is very sad and somber, whereas postmodernism as a theory talks about some celebratory aspects of life, while they don't feel the responsibility to attach to the old tradition and values of life. And if you ask me to suggest you who are the key literary figures of modernist movement, I must say T.S. Eliot, Ezra Pound, and Ezra Pound, in fact, he coined the term "make it new." Make it new means it was Ezra Pound's call to the modernist writers who were following the trend at that time. To make it new means make this literary movement very new and very novel in its approach so that it can represent the contemporary socio-political situation very authentically. So Ezra Pound is one of the major figure of modernist writing. We have T.S. Eliot, though Ezra Pound and T.S. Eliot both were born in America, but they had British naturalized citizenship later on. Next is Virginia Woolf. Next is your say Virginia Woolf, your Franz Kafka, James Joyce, Catherine Mansfield, Joe Wickham. So these are the major modernist writers. And if you follow their narrative techniques, their narrative pattern, you will find they always follow the stream of consciousness narrative technique, where time is very much fragmented, non-linear. So the non-linear form of narrative is very much prioritized in modernist writing in order to highlight the non-linear, fragmentary, broken condition of life. So this is my understanding about modernist theory and writing in a nutshell. If you like this video, please do like and share and subscribe my YouTube channel and follow me for similar updates. Stay tuned. Bye.